I'm Allison Campbell, Associate Laboratory Director for the Earth and Biological Sciences Directorate, and I am here with Scott Tingey, who is our Chief Operating Officer. So Scott, tell me a little bit about yourself, how long you've been here.
Well, I've been at the lab for a little over 25 years. Started out as a hot cell tech, went through project management, and then came to work for you in EMSL.
Tell me a little bit about what a COO, Chief Operating Officer, is and does.
Well, when I describe it to people on the street, I say that for our directorate, I try to manage all the not science stuff. So safety, security, and then interface with the support organizations to help provide the support that their scientists need to do their work.
We're here in a really nice laboratory, and this is a lab where we do a lot of sample prep for some of our multi-omics capabilities.
Right.
This lab gets a lot of students, and we're coming up on the student season. So what advice do you have to managers who are bringing in students for the first time, perhaps, or who routinely have students and might need a refresher on the things to watch out for?
Well, I think bringing in students is a wonderful opportunity, both for the students and for the lab. And the key thing to remember is we have this new program with a research supervisor where we work very closely with the students so that they can really understand their guardrails about what they can and can't do without supervision. And it walks them through the process so that they can feel comfortable, become part of our culture, and really work effectively in the lab in a safe and effective way.
So if a student was in the lab working and he or she came across maybe a hazard that they weren't familiar with, what's the one piece of advice that you might give them in that moment to think about?
Well, I think coming across a hazard that they're not familiar with, the advice is simple, which is stop, think about what you've been told by your research supervisor, go and get that help, work with the people who you work with in the lab, especially with your research supervisor, talk about the process. I think as I look back on things that have happened that weren't perfect in our labs over the years, it always boils down, or almost always boils down, to people who are wanting and trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And they think they can do it in a more efficient way than they've been trained, or a better way, or they're in a rush. And those are the types of simple mistakes that lead to problems in the lab, both for their safety and for our operational effectiveness.
It's kind of like the stop, drop, and roll. It's stop, get help, and reassess. Do you have a question of me that you'd like to ask?
The big question for me is, I think as we move forward in this approach with students and new folks coming in, is what's the best thing for a student, non-laboratory related, just the best piece of advice the students could walk away from their time here to take back with them for their career?
I think probably my best piece of advice to the student would be keep a completely open mind about the experience. So you may come here to work on, experiment X or Y, and during the course of that, you get redirected towards A, B, or C, and you hadn't even thought about that. And if you have a very learning approach to your experience here, I think that's one piece of advice. The other is speak up. If you're not getting what you thought you were getting, talk to your mentor about it, and just make sure there's open lines of communication so that the student can get the best experience that they can have, and the mentor will get the best experience out of the student. So, all right, well, thanks very much.
I'm happy to do it.